Welcome to the Authority of Love. I'm Greg Williams with my co-host for Wednesdays for Women, Miss Addia Wushner. Thank you for joining us, Addia.
Great to be here.
Now we've got a lot to talk about, and we're going
And
to
a
get into
little
some
time.
stuff. And yeah, in little time. So we may run out, but we'll keep you caught up. At least if not this week, we'll go to next week or the next one. But whatever. I just want to share. Those of you not watching the video, I know you said something to me about. Look what you got on today, Greg.
Looks a little bit like Christmas,
Yeah.
but we know why.
Okay. Yeah. It's not Christmas, even though I'm still celebrating that because I love it. This is the Love Them Both
Yes.
scarves.
Yes.
Yes, we have those on from the March. We're going to talk a lot about that. And the green coat is not because it's springtime yet and new life, but we're celebrating life. All of that points to the March for Life, which is what we want to focus on a lot today. And then some of the bills that are springing out of this, right, Addia?
Yes, they're already in the mix in this session. We're
Okay.
week 5 of the General Assembly.
Yep,
And
okay.
Still several weeks to go and much to be done.
Yes, exactly. And so here's what I want to do. I just want to say this. You guys did a wonderful, fabulous job on the March for Life. I think it exceeded all expectations.
It did, and my gratitude goes out to you, to everyone who made this possible. None of the organizations, all of us, we don't have big staffs,
Right.
but God gives you a big idea. And
Or
he
big
makes
budgets.
Our big budgets,
But he
not at all.
multiplies.
You
But he
pray like,
multiplies
oh
it,
my
doesn't
goodness,
he?
does.
Yes, yes.
And he gives, I said, he's the God of big things.
Yeah.
And often I'll say, gosh, you're so God of big things, Lord. But God, he makes big things happen when we give our heart to him and what he's asking us
Yeah,
to do.
yeah, he
And that
multiplies.
was evident last week.
It
Oh
was.
my goodness.
Now that was last Tuesday, which is actually January 23rd. So here we are
Yes.
8 days later
Yes.
as we're coming to you. Tell the audience, our listeners, a little bit about the things that impressed you in the
Well, first of all,
March.
let's say it was raining.
Yes,
It wasn't the best
it was-
weather.
it
And
was
the night
nasty.
before, people were saying, should we cut something? Should we do something different? And one of the groups that are bringing students, and they said the students are used to chaos. They're used to going often to the March in Washington.
Yes.
So they're used to that. And they like the challenge. They were telling me the next day they wanted it to be longer. They would have
Yes,
liked,
yes.
snow and more barriers to overcome while we were worried about overcoming the
Yeah,
weather. But
that's
it
great.
began, after so much work, weeks and weeks of work. It was truly amazing. The active participation across the state, they came from all corners, from the
Yes.
far west to the far east to the north to the south. There in Frankfurt, there were 600 over standing room at the church service that morning
Yeah.
at Good Shepherd.
Right.
When I saw that, we'd already been out in the rain setting up tents and mics and things and setting up over at the Capitol.
Right.
And when I got there, and I just started to cry. I started to weep of joy and just, this is happening, and you did it, Lord.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
there was people standing in the vestibule outside of the church. And
Then they joined with the walkers. That was another impressive thing.
they were already showing up
yeah.
there.
And all
One
the
thing we
people, the
forgot to
different
do
kinds
was
of walkers.
block the parking lot. So the
Right.
parking lot already had cars in it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
some lessons learned, like,
Right,
okay, you better
right.
block the parking lot. Because there were already cars filling up the parking lot for the walkers. It's kind of like there was something for everyone. You could begin with the church service. You could begin at the march and the walk. Or if you didn't want to march, didn't want to walk, you could get to the
And some
church
couldn't.
or
Right, as you
couldn't,
told them.
right.
Yeah, right. Some
They'd
couldn't.
be at the Capitol at 12, and we'd all meet up for the big rally at 12:30, and that's what happened. But it was amazing. The rain is coming down. Um, uh, our speaker singer was outside. We had a little tent over him, and he's playing music, and everybody's gathering. We're handing out signs and banners.
Yeah.
And there's I look at there's moms. Baby strollers now are amazing. They've got this little zip guard to
Yeah,
them.
yeah, they're like in a little cocoon, right?
Yes, with a little rain shelter.
Yeah,
So people,
yeah.
they brought their rain gear and they marched on. And when you
Right.
visit our website, when you see those pictures, it doesn't even do justice for what you see coming up Capitol Avenue. It was it was breathtaking, and it was amazing.
Well, and here's what I loved about it from where I was, because you had asked me, and thank you, I'd had the privilege of emceeing the first portion there at the Rotunda. And so we had things set up, and it was a good crowd to start with. I mean, there was probably 150 to 200 people that were already there gathered. And then just a few minutes in, here the walkers just start come flooding in.
And they keep coming.
Keep flooding in. And then the rotunda and all around it is full.
It fills, and then the mezzanine up
Yeah.
on the second floor. We're on the first floor outside
Right.
the governor's office, the main entrance.
Right.
And then there's what they call the mezzanine, and we had that reserved. that filled up.
Yes.
But earlier in the day, we saw a few little protesters up there. Well, they dissipate. I don't know where they went.
Right.
And we had security just in case, but they were gone.
Yeah,
I
they
think
didn't
in
cause
the
any problems. They're good
No,
for
in the
them.
sight
But
of
yeah,
so many,
I think it was a numbers
so many
game.
red scarves would love them
Right.
both. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Challenge that?
Yes.
So, and then there's the third floor of the Capitol,
Yes.
and you just looked up, and everywhere you looked,
Yeah.
it was
Stream
full.
up and down
Yes.
on the sides. It was wonderful. Estimates were 2,000 minimum, probably closer to 2,500 or 3,000
Yes, it
in
was-
the Capitol. And the Capitol and the people and the security were very gracious.
So they were
and
gracious.
wonderful.
The,
Yes.
the welcoming desk there, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone was amazed. Even afterwards, I was in the Supreme Court talking to security, and they were just talking about the day. People, it was at 4 o'clock. Two of the what they're called legislative pages that serve every
Yes.
year on the House and Senate.
Yeah.
Two young girls came up to me, and they just happened to see me, and they said, "Do you have any more of those red scarves? We would like to have one." They had finished their work
Please,
for the day.
yes.
They had adjourned,
Yeah.
and they wanted a love them both
Right.
with every woman. For
Right.
every
Which,
child.
by the way, was the theme
Yes.
of the march. And we also had great music. There was wonderful music by Christy Miller, recording artist.
Lee Wrestler was out on the street.
street,
when we
yes.
started out at the march.
Yeah.
Then there was Christy Miller
Right.
performing.
Who's a recording artist.
Yes,
and-
from
and
in the Maria.
actress. Yes.
Just was amazing. Another man. Everybody who came in. Wendell Miller, not related to Christy, came in from Muhlenberg County, who did the sound system because the
Oh, he
Capitol,
did a great job.
The Capitol's notorious for not having you got to overcome echo and
Yes,
sound.
yes.
And he was willing. His church supported him in coming, and he handled the sound system.
Yeah.
It was just
And did a great job. DeCorey Johnson from America's Got Talent.
yes, from
was
Louisville,
wonderful,
11
yes.
years old. Nobody could believe his age, and
Or his
just-
voice.
or his voice, and he just
Yeah,
rocked
yeah.
it with the national anthem, and then I'll always love you, and which was the theme of our message. So you
Right.
had that intermingling of contemporary music and faith, and music that also told the stories,
Right.
of
And then to
life.
close the last song before we all kind of dispersed was with the Sisters for Life Quartet after our
And
good friend
DeCorey, and then
Angela Minter,
yes.
and then DeCorey, they sang. It was wonderful. The Sister
Everybody
for Life
kind of stepped up together.
Ladies Quartet,
Yes.
right. And then they came together and sang that again. It was beautiful. I think also, and this will transition us into our next portion of this, to see 60 plus pro-life caucus legislators.
Yes, they're very busy. They
Yes.
have committee meetings, and having served as the General Assembly, I knew they all had to be on the floor at 2. They usually have
Right.
a 1 o'clock caucus. So our message was, we know you can't be with us for the entire event. Come as you can, but try to be with us at 1:40. We have a special gift for you, and we hope that you have heard the voice of the people. They gathered. The co-chair for the pro-life caucus, Representative Tate, spoke
Yes.
for a moment. Alongside of her was Brittany. Brittany has her own story of being a survivor of her mother was raped
yeah,
and
yeah.
situation, and just another witness to the preciousness of every life. But
Yes.
every legislator got a scarf.
Yes.
They
And
were
they were-
called by name. They waited to be called
Yes.
by name.
They were recognized, and I think even more what I saw is they were very encouraged. You could see
Yes.
that.
And we had the students passing out the scarves to them.
Yes.
It was great.
Number of teens
Yes.
that were there with I'm in the post row generation, and we
Yes.
said, I hope there's many more to come. So it was a wonderful day. It doesn't mean our work is over. It just means we're encouraged
Right.
by those
Far
who are
from over.
supporting
We've
it.
got a lot of work to
Right.
do.
Crystal York, your friend, who was on last week. If you listen, if you didn't, go back and catch that at loveandlordship.com or Kentucky Right to Life, because
listen
she, unbelievable testimony. Her mother chose to give her birth even though she was raped. And what God is doing through her and her husband, and now a 4th and 5th generation from her grandmother who prayed for her.
And her grandmother her funeral was just this past weekend.
Yes.
Her grandmother had passed away that morning, and Crystal
Yeah.
still came, and she said, "I knew my grandmother would want me to be there."
And she told that
I
again
know. It was
on-
she still came.
Yeah, on the Authority of Love Wednesdays for Women. She told that last week. Go back and listen to that powerful testimony. Well, we've got a few minutes here. We want to talk a little bit about some of the bills that are of importance generally, but in particular, how they're impacting women.
Yes, you could. We will put out. We usually put out a what we call an alert every week, just updating.
They can go to
word.
KentuckyRightToLife.org.
Yes,
Okay.
and then or they'll call the office. They'll get our email blast,
Okay.
and we'll send it to them specifically to what those alerts are. 2 bills. I think we mentioned them maybe the week before, but Senate Bill 99 and House Bill 285, those are bills that we are opposing and asking people to oppose. We don't
Yes.
see them going anywhere, but it's good for legislation. You just never assume. It's good for the House and the Senate members to hear the voice of the people that have sent them there and say,
Yes.
when they say
Yes.
we are opposed to
It-
99.
you know this, but they tell us all the time. When you get those calls, it has an impact.
Yeah, oh,
Right.
I used to
Yes.
carry a stack.
Right.
Calls. I said, I've had this many calls today on
Right.
this bill.
On this issue. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
So I knew that I was listening to the people who had sent me there.
Right.
So one of them is a pro-abortion bill expanding exceptions, and then 285 is an assisted suicide expansion bill.
Wow.
I know,
So that's on the other end of life
yeah.
again.
And again, we're
not
pro-life
honoring
from
life.
conception to
That's
natural,
exactly
natural
right.
death.
Yes.
But then on our support bills, and we're always analyzing and revising bills and trying to put out that update. So if you want to get that update weekly, we can let you know. But Senate Bill 10, which was Representative Mosier, Representative Tate, and a whole host of women. That one is really, I love them both. It expands health care and coverage, making sure that that pregnancy is a qualifying event to get insurance, which
Yeah.
it's not right now.
Already covers the baby, which is interesting, but we need to cover the mother, right?
Right,
And help
right.
them in
So,
many cases.
House Bill 30, that's one it's just getting started, and that has to do with suicide prevention for
Okay,
military members.
okay.
House Bill 272 is abandoned infants. We would call that we like to call it the Safe Haven Baby Box Bill,
Right.
which was passed a couple years ago. Where
Right.
in fact we've got 2 more baby boxes going in Kentucky this week. Ludlow and
Wonderful.
Warsaw will go
Okay,
in this week.
okay.
Very excited. But that bill clears up some language about if there's not someone in the station, what happens. But we're also in the committee sub on Tuesday. Representative Tate is adding. I went there with her to work on to put those notices in our public schools at 800 number and in Kentucky rest stops. That's important. We did that with human trafficking because you
Right.
never know where a young woman in crisis or a couple in crisis might have that opportunity to know
Right.
and make that phone call and know that there's a place
That's a
that they can
great
take
place
their
because
child.
they're often on the run from something. They
yes.
don't even know what.
Right. Because
Yes.
these children are not abandoned. These are children that are surrendered because their mothers or fathers want something better for them than
Yes,
they can
yes,
provide.
right. And then we got one more. I know a couple bills as we close out here. Birthing centers.
Yes.
Give them a little bit on that. There's 2 bill, HB 199 and Senate Bill 103, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And what that is, both members of the House and Senate filed bills to have freestanding birthing centers. And when I spoke to them, I said, I'm going to ask one thing. I'm going to ask you to put a provision there so that it's perfectly clear from the beginning, should this bill pass, that there will never be abortions performed in these centers, so that
Birthing center, right.
it can't get mixed up along the way. So both of those bills have that provision that would prevent abortions.
Excellent. Now, we do have a little something for you, Addia does, with the Kentucky Right to Life prayer guides. How can they
Yes,
get those? Because you gave them out at the walk. Many people grabbed
We
them.
revised
Show them what that
our
looks
Respect
like.
Life prayer books.
Yes.
You can see this for those that are
Yep,
looking.
yep.
And we've got some left over. People wanted to buy them. We don't sell anything.
Right.
People wanted scarves. We have a few left of the scarves.
Right.
So if you want to call our office at 502-895-5959, and for nothing or for a donation that could help or mailing,
Yes.
we've got, if you'd like to have a prayer book, it really is, it's been redone. I think it's quite nice. But if we've got any extra scarves, people want
Throw those in
too,
as well.
yes.
Yeah. So you can have those donation of 0 on up. If you have the means, help them out. If not, they'd love to get you something. And finally, call the office, 502-859-5959, right?
Yes.
And not only for those, but let Addia know, ladies, what do you want to hear us talk about? We'd love to help you with that. We're not afraid to talk about any of the issues. We're going to do it from a biblical worldview.
Mm-hmm.
And so please call Addia and let her know. Thank you today for joining us. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks always to the Lord. Make it a great day, and God bless in Christ. Stay tuned at 1245 for my good friend Greg Horn and Hope is here. I'm Greg Williams, and you're listening to The Authority of Love.